small steps to lower our carbon footprint every day, then ultimately this is going to have a larger impact on climate change. And I guess it's all our ambition to leave a better world for our kids and for future generations, which actually absolutely will not be the case if we carry on this trajectory. But you know, each one of us taking steps to lower that carbon footprint will ultimately make a real difference in the long run. So today we have Lauren, who's the General Manager for POW UK, and we also have Dom here, who's the Programme Manager for POW, and they're going to introduce POW and tell us a bit more about how we can be more informed about what those guys are doing and perhaps support that better. Sorry, just a bit of admin. If everybody could mute their mics, please, whilst the presentation is going on, we'd be super grateful. Okay, I'll pass you over to Lauren and Dom. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Sonia, for your warm welcome, and thanks everyone for committing the time to listen to us today. It's great. As Sonia says, I'm Lauren McCallum. I'm the General Manager of Protect Our Winters UK, and we've also got Dom, our Programme Manager, who leads up our POW Pledge programme, and has done a fantastic job of getting that out to market. So yeah, he's going to talk to you about that later on. But yeah, I'm kind of speaking to you from a blustery Aviemore. I hope it's all right where you are, and the snow is definitely disappearing fast. So yeah, it's safe to come back out on social media now. But Dom, do you want to pop the slides up?
Yeah.
Okay. Also, we could just go into the next slide. Great. So just for those, I'm guessing most of you on the call understand or know a little bit about Protect Our Winters and Protect Our Winters UK. But Protect Our Winters was started 13 years ago in the US by professional snowboarder Jeremy Jones. And through his sort of backcountry pioneering career, he was seeing the effects of climate change firsthand, and the irreversible effects that was having, and decided to kind of use his voice, use his agency within the industry and community to set up POW UK, to set up Protect Our Winters. So that started about 13 years ago, and we started the UK chapter, which is a Scottish registered charity that sits independently from POW US, just under 3 years ago now. So we're super small. There's myself as General Manager, Dom as Programme Manager, and we've got Emma, who is starting a day and a half a week as our fundraising coordinator, and some of you might have seen that we're going out for marketing manager at the minute. So a super small team that punches way above our weight. So yeah, we're a small team and started just under 3 years ago. So what are we here to do? Well, our vision is to inspire and equip the outdoor industry and community to take meaningful action against climate change. And our vision is to accelerate the transition to a carbon neutral society as quickly as possible. As many of you know, we are in the middle of a climate emergency. Some of you have heard about the Paris Agreement about keeping warming to 1.5 degrees. We are on a current trajectory between a 3 and 4 degree warming, which Don will speak about a little bit more later on. But just to make that clear, that is, catastrophic for our industry, for our mountains, for the communities they foster, for our jobs, and for and for people and planet in general. So we're here to do something about that and inspire and equip our industry and our participants to take responsibility and to speak up. Next slide, please, Dom. So we do this by turning passionate outdoor people into effective climate advocates. So this is really important. So whether we work for, whether we work with brands or whether we're just members of the outdoor community, we have to turn this passion into purpose. Because, if the ski industry can't save skiing, if the mountain bikers can't save the trails, if surfers can't save the snow, if surfers can't save the waves, we're in a really difficult position. And I think it should be us that should band our voices together and lobby for more climate ambition. And also we're the ones that are, in the mountains, we're the ones that are seeing the changes, and we should relay these experiences back to MSPs, MPs, and our policymakers. Please, Dom. So how do we do this? Well, by law, POW UK is an apolitical organisation. We back systemic climate policy that any government can adopt, and we try and push that through Parliament, and we join the wider environmental movement and add the outdoor voice to that. So we campaign alongside the TCC, which is the UK climate movement, called the Climate Coalition, and in Scotland we campaign alongside SCCS, which is Stop Climate Chaos Scotland, and we add the outdoor voice to that wider environmental movement. And we do this around lobbying around reducing fossil fuels, increasing community energy. So we've been doing some work around the community energy bill. We educate our community through carbon literacy, which Dom, again, coming back to creating effective climate advocates, but what Dom will talk about later. So empowering our participants of our community to understand the problem and understand the solutions to those problems, and so that they feel more confident about speaking up about it. And we've done stuff about, better transport solutions. So you guys might have seen Save the Ski Train campaign that we did through Eurostar, cancelling that service. So some big wins for us. We successfully managed to pressurise Nicola Sturgeon into committing to that 2045 net zero target. We've done a lot around sort of voter registration as well, and targeting young people to register to vote, because they're the ones that are going to be most affected, but are the least, or the ones who don't turn out to vote, which is a problem. So that's some of the political campaigns that we've run so far. Next slide, please, Dom. Feel like Chris Whitty. So I mean, this basically all just boils down to what we do. So everything that we do, whether that's the industry and community, affects this policy. So I've already spoken about the community. We've got a carbon literacy affecting or creating more effective climate advocates, and industry. So we've got the pledge, which again Dom's going to go into later on, but using your guys' voice to really pressurise and put pressure on the policy that we want to create. So helping us spread the campaigns, educate your customers about this, and using you guys as using our industry there to kind of come to things like COP26. The UN climate negotiations are coming to Glasgow later on this year, so we will be doing a CEO letter that will be asking for increased climate ambition. So and then everything that we do kind of funnels into that policy space. So really, to wrap it up, what we do at POW, it's our community, so carbon literacy, creating effective climate advocates, the industry, so working with the POW pledge, setting net zero targets by 2040, and then using that awareness and education to then drive policy change and advocacy. So that is basically a whistle-stop tour of what we do at POW UK, and we recognise that personal lifestyle choices are important, and they're important for our customers and our members of our community to take. But we are going to be most effective by campaigning for solutions, policy solutions to increase climate ambition, because that's where the biggest carbon reductions can be made quickly, and that's super important. So yeah, that's what we do at POW, I think.
Great. So picking up from Lauren here. So my name is Don Winter. My role is Programme Manager at Protect Our Winters UK. I'll also introduce Adam Hall, who is one of our trustees. So as Lauren said, we punch above our weight in terms of number of staff. We do that through having really knowledgeable trustees and volunteers. So Adam Hall might be jumping in during my presentation to add a bit more context or help us answer some questions at the end. So as Lauren was saying, this is all about protecting what we love, and that's the way we need to go about it. So we'll probably have noticed, or people that live in these areas will have noticed the impact of climate change already. So these are two photos of the same exact spot 30 years apart, and you can directly see just what an impact climate change is having. So it's really that much more tangible for us as a community than maybe some others. And there has been already, according to the scientists, a big impact from climate change on these topics. So that's because of this change of temperature. So this is just a graph of the temperature of the planet, the average temperature of the planet over the last 12,000 years. So it's been pretty stable for 10,000 years, and then we've just jumped this little tail here is the last like 50 years. So this is what we're doing. You can see it looks pretty unusual in history. So in terms of, is it humanity? Well, this is just when we started releasing greenhouse gases. So yes, and you can see why it's quite scary. It's because it's so quick. There is natural climate change that happens over tens of thousands of years. And if this was going to happen over tens of thousands of years, we could move our cities to avoid floods and things, but and build new ski lifts where we need them when they need to be higher up. But we don't have that. We're going to have sort of 50 years before the impacts are going to be pretty severe. And as Oren mentioned, we're already on our track for 3 degrees or more. So obviously, I'm going to focus on the impacts on snow sports and what organisations within this community can do about it. But just to quickly raise, obviously, there's a lot wider impacts of climate change than just directly on snow sports. It's going to impact crop yields, unique and threatened systems of things like reefs and glaciers. Extreme weather events are going to increase. Distribution of impacts, it's going to be unfair who gets impacted. It's going to impact GDP, lives lost, migration, large-scale singular events. Like obviously there's a huge amount of impacts, but we're not going to like dig into that too long, because I'm sure you've seen information on that elsewhere. But this graph is basically showing that as the temperature goes up, so as we go up these graphs, the temperature is going up. We're already at this 1 degree. We're already in this grey zone. You can just see that everything gets worse and worse. So what we're really shooting for is keeping to 1.5 degree warming, where you can see here things don't tend to be above sort of moderate impacts. If we start getting into these high impacts, things are going to go sideways pretty fast. But we're currently on track for that 3 degrees, which is off the top of this because it's pretty grim. So that's why we really need to stop this at 1.5 degrees. And so winter needs us as well. So the difference between taking action now is the difference between 70% less snow later this century and 30% less snow, according to studies. So already resorts under 1,200 meters are going to be pretty screwed for snow by mid-century. That's 25% of all resorts in the Alps. So you can consider what impact that's going to have on the others becoming more expensive or more crowded or both. Yeah, the impacts are going to be pretty notable. But what we do in the next 10, 20 years will have a huge impact on the future. So there's still time to save a lot of it and protect a lot of what we love. But it is definitely having a tangible impact. And studies show that, for instance, the season in Switzerland is about a month shorter in most resorts than it was 50 years ago. So, this is pretty direct, tangible stuff to these industries. So what are the causes of emission then? What do we need to stop? Well, I guess part of the problem is it's such a range of emissions. So we're not just going to stop flying and we'll be fixed. That's only 2%. Like everything is only a small part of the pie. So we need to get everything to zero emissions. So that's why we look at big picture stuff, and we look at systemic change. We want to look at policy change in government, and we need all industry and every area of life to get to zero greenhouse gas emissions by before the middle of the century. So that's what we're really looking to help the entire country to do. So how do we do this? Well, firstly, Lauren's already covered campaigns and working with the community, but in terms of organization, how are we going to avoid some of these impacts and make that difference between 30% and 70% of snow lost? So organizations are going to have climate strategies, policies, and measurements in place. So, I mean, you can come into a world of hurt when you start trying to do this stuff, because there's a lot of jargon around it. So really, we had difficulty with organizations. A lot of organizations, particularly small ones, coming to us as POW and saying, we want to help, but we don't know what to do. And yeah, that's totally a tangible problem. There's lots of sort of these big schemes called the CDP greenhouse gas and the greenhouse gas protocol and so on. But they're really in depth. You'd need like a full-time manager and to deal with it. And for a large organization, that's fine. But for a small organization, it's just not going to work. So that's why we came about with the idea of something that we now call the POW Pledge. So the POW Pledge exists to help organizations such as you to take climate action. It really gives you a step-by-step guide. These are the 8 steps to take. This is how you do each of those 8 steps. So the business sector accounts for 70% of global greenhouse gas emissions. So this is why we ask greenhouse companies to be cutting their greenhouse gas emissions. And the other sector's worth hundreds of billions of dollars. So it's bigger than a lot of the fossil fuel companies. So we have a massive chance to have a massive impact here. This industry literally needs the earth. So it's time for us to stand up to it. And that's why, yeah, the POW Pledge exists, an initiative to guide you and equip you to do this. So what are the 8? So next, actually, I'm going to show a brief video introducing you to the POW Pledge a bit more.
Wildfires are raging. Lowlands are flooding. Glaciers are melting. And the oceans are dying. Climate breakdown is real. It has started, and we need to act. Your ability to influence change is far greater than your individual footprint. Whether you're a business of 1, 10, or hundreds, your impact is actually in your influence. This is a call to action, to do the right thing, to protect what we love, to preserve our incredible planet, and to safeguard our sports. Collectively, the outdoor industry is a force to be reckoned with. Globally, the outdoor industry is worth $800 billion, dwarfing that of the leading fossil fuel companies. We are the catalyst, the missing change makers, and we can help protect the environment that our industry depends on. The POW Pledge is here as a wake-up call. You have a voice and you have an impact, and you can choose to use it positively. The framework will help you learn how to reduce your impact, be accountable for your actions, and share the message with your customers and peers. It will guide you through taking action, help inform environmental business policy, and provide leading information and advice surrounding 8 key points. Understand how climate breakdown affects your organisation. Run on 100% renewable electricity. Be heated by carbon zero sources. Run a zero emission vehicle fleet. Reduce unavoidable CO2 emissions. Establish your zero carbon targets. Begin your divestment journey. Influence your supply chain to do the same. Look around you. Everything you thrive on depends on your actions. We're all entwined, and we all have a part to play. As an industry that literally needs the earth, we need to be the ones to stand up and fight for it. We need to mobilise en masse. Individually, our impact is small, but together, it's great. There's power in numbers.
So there is 8 steps that we've identified that is what all businesses like them, the most impactful steps that you can take. And this portal will tell you everything about how to do them. So I understand some of the organizations or people in this call might be very small organizations, to which some of these may not apply. That's absolutely fine. But it will guide you on how to deal with all of the 8. So if you have no direct energy emissions because it's just you working from home or something, then it will explain how to fulfill the criteria anyway. Or if you don't personally want to take the pledge, then perhaps it's something you can talk to a brand you work with about. But these are the 8 steps. I won't spend too long talking about the hows now, because I mean that's what the pledge is there for. So I'll just show you quickly what it looks like though. When you come to the POW pledge, which we'll make sure you get the link to, you'll find this video and a bit of introductory information about the pledge. Once you register by clicking here, it's absolutely free to register, and you're then like into the portal, and you can find all that information that we talk about, how to take these 8 steps and what they are. And it will just ask enough questions that we can understand that you are setting high enough targets. So for example, starting with how is climate breakdown going to affect your organization? If you know that the cost of certain things you things that you manufacture with are going to, materials you manufacture with are going to be increasing in cost because they have a high carbon footprint, and there's going to be likely taxes on carbon footprints. You need to consider how climate breakdown is going to impact your organization, or for instance, for tour operators, they know that ski resorts under 1,200 meters aren't going to have snow reliably. They might want to look at the fact that they're not going to be able to run trips to those locations. So there's loads of information in the how pop-ups about how to do this stuff. They're step-by-step guides, and they allow you to get more information about how to do it, so you can come and get additional help from us and from an environmental consultancy. So there's a point for all 8. I'm not going to go through them all now, because hopefully if you're interested, you can go and take a look at this in your own time. But yeah, definitely recommend having a look at this. If you decide to go on with what we call a public pledge, if you complete all 8 targets to a high enough criteria, like your net zero data for 2040, you're getting 100% renewable electricity in the next few years, then you can complete a public pledge. So if you complete a public pledge, you get loads of assets to talk about this. You'll appear on our website on the pledge webpage, showing that you've set these 8 targets and you really will be leading on climate action. We've had about 80 organizations register and 10 organizations complete in the last few months already, since we've launched. So yeah, it's open now. Please go and register. Lots of organizations working towards this still, but the latest one that finished literally yesterday was Planks. So great to have them on board. We'll try and get the link out to you. So other than, sorry, Adam, if you have anything to add before I move on to training.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, hello everyone. Yeah, I think so. I'd just like to add a few points just about the pledge and just why it's so good for any organisation really. It's designed to, as Dom's mentioned, I just really want to emphasise that point. It's not designed around paperwork. It's not designed to trip you up. It's not designed to tie you up in knots. It's designed to give you those 8 most impactful actions you can possibly take. So if you feel like you have to do something, great, that's fantastic. Here it is. These are the 8 most impactful steps you can take. All it asks in return is for you to set your dates, your targets as to when you're going to achieve them. So it's a resource, it's a toolkit just to really get you started. If you don't feel like you want to take it, you're going to have to start considering this, because there's going to be pressures from all sorts of different areas that we need to take these steps. You're in the snow industry, you should be concerned, but if you're not, you're going to have to take notice, because there's going to be pressure from customers, there's going to be pressure from suppliers, there's going to be pressure from policy, and there's going to be physical pressures from the environment coming very soon. So all these pressures are beginning to come into play. You're going to see some real big shifts this year with COP26 coming up. And what this does, what the pledge does, is it gives you that head start, and it just means that you can just hit the ground running for when all these external pressures really start turning the screws on organisations to do more. It just means that you're ready, you're ahead. So it's almost like us helping our industry be one step ahead, because we should be, because we rely on snow, which is going to be directly affected. So yeah, get in there, get amongst it, you know, dig in, see how you feel about it, you know, start setting targets, start using those resources. We consistently update it, so this is a moving playing field as well. You know, there's a lot of these elements aren't set in stone, things do change. We're adapting as it goes. So essentially it's taking the pressure off organizations like yours to not be caught up in knots, trying to do your research, trying to keep on top of things. Let us do it for you, and just come in, dip in. We'll tell you what to do. The hard work should be physically doing it, not trying to figure out what to do. So yeah, that's a bit of a snapshot of how I see the pledge anyway. You know, you're busy people. Let us do the legwork and working out what you have to do. The hard work should be actually physically doing the reduction in carbon. So yeah, we'd love to see you over and join us. Yeah, and following on from that, it's like to get this level of information into your organization, a lot of consultants, like the other way to go about it would be to bring a consultancy in. They all often charge thousands of pounds for like a day consultation or workshop just to sort of get you started, and this kind of takes you past all that and really takes you direct to setting your goals. So the POW Pledges is one of the industry initiatives that we're working on, because it will directly help you cut your greenhouse gas emissions, which will help us fight climate change. But we have numerous others, as Lauren's already mentioned. The campaigns are super important as well in terms of leaning on government to also change policy, but also carbon literacy training is another project that we run. So carbon literacy training is a one-day course designed to a standard developed by this organization, the Carbon Literacy Project. And it's designed to give anyone an awareness of carbon dioxide costs and impacts of everyday activities. So the impact on the climate of everyday activities and the ability and motivation to reduce emissions, both as an individual, community, and organization. So it's externally accredited. We can deliver it to you. We have 2 trainers, so we can usually fit to your schedule. And yeah, it really helps improve staff engagement on this topic, make better strategic decisions. If everything I was presenting in the POW Pledge sounded like I don't know where to start with any of that, you didn't sort of understand that level of that I was talking about, then this could be a great place to start to make sure you do understand that stuff, and to make sure that when we're campaigning, you follow what's important and why. And how to take effective climate action. So yeah, carbon literacy training is available. We can send you a 1-page with all the information if you just request it for an email. And yeah, collaboration and campaigns. But we wanted to keep the presentation relatively short, so we'd have a bit more time to discuss. Because if there's anything that will help you take more climate action other than this, then we'd love to hear it, because we're about creating effective change. So back to Lauren to wrap up, I think.
Thanks, guys, and yeah, thanks very much, Dom. Thanks very much, Adam, and yeah, thank you all for listening in. Yeah, I mean, I think the other point I just want to make is, you know, like I say, we're a small team, and I think we punch well above our weight in terms of our output. But the more commitment that we can get through the pledge, the more resources that we can commit to kind of capacity. So our next hire, we really want to kind of be a community manager and then a policy and advocacy sort of expert, and that helps us campaign more effectively. So, and campaign on the behalf of our industry as well. So more support from you guys to help us do the hard community organizing and the policy, you know, reading the documents, painful documents that you've got to scroll through on behalf of on behalf of our industry is really important, because let's be honest, you guys, like Adam says, are busy enough. It's probably not jobs that you guys want to do. So yeah, really looking forward to taking questions, and really looking forward to working with you guys, hopefully in the future.
Okay, thanks, Lauren. Thanks, Dom and Adam, for the information. It certainly seems like a lot of information available to us, and actually the pledge sounds like a phenomenal tool. Actually, I don't know, from a business perspective, it seems super overwhelming. So that's certainly, I shall most definitely be taking a look at that following this meeting. Likewise, carbon literacy training, actually, I think that information to go to our membership would be very worthwhile. Can I open it up to questions from any of our participants today? Anything?
We should have asked them to be dropped in the chat as we went, and now everyone's like.
The point that I'll just dip in just to keep the conversation flowing is I think it's well worth outlining the benefits to a business, aside doing the right thing and aside to supporting POW for us to do other work. As a business, what it does is it gives you a very simplistic outline of your commitments. And actually that can be lifted and just put straight onto your website or straight into any of your policies. So actually we deliver a climate policy for you off the back of the pledge. You know, that might be of interest to you as a business anyway, or when you're attracting employees, or when you're working with other businesses. What's your climate policy? It's done. It's also quite useful, and we found through the organisations that have taken it, that the full suite of marketing assets that we have, social media, video, bumpers for your video stings, and actually what it does is it just communicates your commitment, and that's going to become increasingly important. So there's, you know, aside from trying to do the best you possibly can, there are some benefits to your organisation as well, and we totally appreciate that that's important. And that's not just important from just boosting your business, it's important for increasing exposure and getting this whole movement going. You know, the more you guys talk about it, that you've taken that commitment, you've got your climate policy in place, you've got marketing assets that you're talking about, it all just feeds into this good intention of actually trying to do the best we can. So yeah, there's lots of other benefits around that as well.
Actually, Adam, like you suggested earlier, from a brand perspective, it's more and more common to be asked for your credentials on climate. Actually, more and more common.
Yeah, and you know, there's countless amounts of research around that say businesses that have purpose generally do better. You know, you attract better employees, you attract better business relationships. The list goes on, and you know, particularly for our industry, it's even more so. So yeah, there's so many intangible benefits to doing this, aside the fact that we should, and it's probably going to be asked of us very soon anyway. Yeah, there's plenty of spin-offs.
Definitely, and just, I mean, I would just kind of add to that, like, you know, as Dom mentioned, you know, this was firmly designed with our industry in mind. You know, we looked at B Corp, we looked at these other schemes, and if you don't have a full-time sustainability team, or if you're a team of 2 or 1 or 3, but you want to do the right thing and you want to commit to something, we've basically taken, you know, this is 2.5 years in the making, pretty much. This all started from a conversation in a coffee shop in Edinburgh, where now eventually, you know, it's now eventually out to market. So we went through everything, and we've kind of synthesized that into those 8 steps. And, you know, if that's only going to cost you £300, for example, I mean, that's just saved you a whack, because if you're going to get an environmental or carbon consultant in, you know, it's definitely not going to cost you £300, put it that way. So, you know, I think we're passionate about doing the right thing as accessible as possible, so people can join us on the journey. So yeah, hopefully you guys see it as a useful tool.
I can't believe there's not a single question from anyone.
I'll ask one. Have you worked with any other organisations like SIGB yet? And if so, what's been the take-up?
Adam, Dom, do you want to lead on that one?
I don't mind. Adam, do you want to go?
Yeah, well, look, we haven't got anything confirmed apart from, I mean, Dom, you'll come in with the ones that we've confirmed, but we have been speaking to a lot of the industry associations, particularly, you know, we've expanded it to outdoors, not just snow. So there's lots of organisations that are very interested in this. I mean, this is very new. It's very fresh. We wanted to launch it just to our community first, so people that had already supported POW. But there are some, excuse me, there are some industry associations that have fallen off their chair on this because they've been saying comments like, we've been trying to develop something like this for a couple of years now, and you've come along and actually just delivered it. So I don't know if can we talk about those, Dom? Yeah,
I mean, we'll be doing something similar to this with the OAA UK to present it to their members, and Mountain Trade Network as part of one of their events. With what we've already talked about, their events and some other more sustainability focused type events. One other thing we're going to be doing is rolling this out across the EU as well, and then we'll be getting trade associations for those specific countries as well. So I think there's a lot of scope to increase that as we start reaching those other areas. We're just finalizing like the small print with the other EU chapters, because I mentioned it's a bit like there's a different chapter in every country. So agreeing with them and making sure there's enough specific support. So at the moment, all the support in there is specific to pretty specific to UK organisations, and we're just going to make sure we have enough for those different countries before we make it available there.
Dom, I think that that sort of international element is quite important for some members, because a lot of them are distributors for European brands or whatever, and from what I understand with a couple of them, they've had discussions with their suppliers, the factories or whatever, and there isn't quite an interface yet between POW UK and POW Europe and POW US. I mean, how do you see that developing?
In terms of the pledge, we are working on that agreement where it'll be agreed exactly how it works, and we all work together on it across POW EU. POW US sustainability situation is quite different, so it's not going to be expanded to the US and Canada sort of in the next year or two, but in the EU it should be within the next year. But it definitely won't hurt you to get ahead on this stuff. Like, these are the top 8 steps you can take on climate change, and even if you're the advice is applicable to other countries, even if some of the recommendations on suppliers of renewable energy, you'll have to ask us, and we can put you in the loop with POW France about French suppliers of renewable electricity, for example. So yeah, in terms of the pledge, there will be more bespoke or readily available, information, but certainly we can still help you with that already. Just email us about it, and definitely, yeah, if you register now, you can be starting to work on these things, and you don't have to make your final payment until you complete the public pledge anyway. So you can get it started and then complete it later, and it's certainly going to take a lot of organizations a few weeks to pull together the data needed. And then Lauren, probably a better place to speak on in general terms, working with other POW chapters and partnerships and so on.
Yeah, sure. So so POW EU started 2 years ago, and Nidecker, Burton and Jones put 150 grand in the pot to get that up and going. So POW EU was sort of started to just coordinate all the efforts of the European chapters, and we do that. We have Sorens, who kind of acts on behalf of the chapter heads in Europe, and well, the EU member state chapters campaign a lot, obviously, because the climate policy or their NDCs, for example, are as one EU state, and then for the rest of us, we coordinate on sort of common themes. Just to kind of give you guys a bit of a heads up, or a bit of not a sneak preview, but yeah, I guess a bit of a heads up that we'll be running our first ever POW global campaign, and POW UK are going to be the team on the ground to deliver that. And that's around COP26, and we'll be focusing a lot on climate finance and specifically around divestment. So, you know, we're kind of at the point where some of the EU chapters now have paid staff like us, and we have the capacity to run a global campaign now. So yeah, I was on calls with the US yesterday, and yeah, kind of how we're going to gear up as a global organization to COP26, because obviously Trump is out of office. We have the Biden administration who's now rejoined the Paris Agreement, so that's good news. But we also have in the UK, Boris is going to want to impress you know, the special envoy John Kennedy, because they're going to want that trade deal, and so they're going to suck up to that administration quite a bit. So they're going to want to flex their power, and they're not going to want to be embarrassed on their own doorstep. So there's sort of some other geopolitical, like, kind of political ways that it makes sense that we use COP26 as a focus. So but in terms of how we stand, I think I said at the beginning, we're a Scottish registered, or we're UK registered charity, and we sit financially independently from the rest of the chapters. If that explains it, yeah, if that answers your question. I was just gonna, I mean, does anyone kind of have any questions around the sort of the campaigns, or like, have you got any thoughts on? I mean, we've kind of, well, actually, a plug before I go into this, but we've got a supporter survey that we're about to send out, and it would be really awesome if the members could share that between with their customers and their network, because we've got a sort of a backbone of the campaigns that we're going to run up, we're going to run this year, and we're going to kind of focus that around divestment, so taking and moving money out of high risk fossil fuel projects. So your pensions, you know, it's £14 billion in high risk fossil fuel activities and Scottish pensions alone. So if we think about this problem as a heart, and it having, you know, kind of key arteries that we need to sever, fossil fuel finance is a big part of that. And our industry, our community, if we can start moving that money, it's a really effective tactic to basically squash these harmful projects. So we want to focus on divestment. We want to focus on energy. So North Sea oil and gas, huge part of the UK mix of emissions. So focusing on decarbonising the grid, what do we need to do about that? And then the third part that we kind of want to focus on is around our connection to the spaces that we love to go and play in. So why is that important? Why are the mountains important? And why are the communities that they foster important? And why should we should protect that? So the survey, for the data that we get back, is going to help us campaign a lot more effectively and get that data back to tailor these messages. Or if there's something that comes back out of that survey that says, hey, our community really wants to focus on rewilding, let's just say, you know, we can consider that and see how we can focus on something that the community really wants. So yeah, if I think we'll circulate that supporter survey, and if you could help us distribute it, that would be really helpful, because it will help us campaign more effectively.
I guess we could introduce what we're doing with community reps and athletes, Lauren, if we have a few more minutes, and then maybe we can wrap up slightly early if there's no further questions or something.
Yeah, sure. So again, like coming back to the point of effective climate advocates. So we've started a community rep program, which is really about taking committed volunteers and then being the face and voice of POW in their local communities. So we've decided that the bases that we want to start with is Abbeymoor, Edinburgh and Glasgow, kind of central Scotland. So Abbeymoor, Edinburgh, Manchester, London, Teen and Morzine. And we've decided to start with those first 6 because, well, capacity is an issue, so we can only start with so many places first. And really just kind of getting members of the community to really be the voice of POW. They'll kind of communicate our campaigns and provide that community around creating change, because this has got to be fun, right? You know, it can sometimes be pretty doom and gloom a lot of the time. So creating that community and fun part, the sort of, you know, the meetups, the après skis, the film nights, and kind of coordinating a lot of that activity. And then, yeah, we work with ambassadors. We've just done our ambassador training two weeks ago. So I'm just trying to think. So Billy Morgan, Katie Omrod, Robbie Phillips, one of the hardest trad climbers in the UK, is ambassador. Emma Twyford, hardest female climber in the UK, or trad climber in the UK, is ambassador. Molly Thompson-Smith, who is an indoor climber, is kind of on the edge, and we've got some other mountain bike ambassadors as well who are kind of interested in coming into the fold. So they're really important, and they're key to you know, getting the message out to their audience who wouldn't normally be engaged. And then also what we say is medals get meetings. Ministers love standing with Billy and his medal. You know, they love the selfies. So you know, it's sometimes great when we can kind of take somebody along with us and, you know, reel them in, and then you know, get that time in front of the ministers. So yeah, they're a key part of our community as well. And yeah, Dom's done some good carbon literacy training with them, and we're really looking forward to kind of working with them more so that we can give them more skills and educate them so they can be more confident in communicating the message.
Yeah, that's been great, the fact that they've been up for the carbon literacy training. So yeah, really good for that level of engagement.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
Okay, anything else from anyone?
It's quite a lot of info.
There's huge amounts of information, but yeah, super compelling actually. So big thanks, Lauren and Dom and Andy, for joining us today. We really appreciate it. I'm guessing an email will now go out to the membership, pointing them towards all the information. Oh, I notice it's in chat actually, but we'll follow up with members as well. I think that will be very useful.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. We'll get that all together, and if anyone has any further questions, yeah, my email will be on there, and just reach out and we can I can fill anything in, or if anything else pops up. I think, like I said, we're looking for a marketing manager at the minute for 30 hours a week. So if there's anyone in your network that you think would suit that role, then yeah, another plug. If you could forward it on, that would be great.
No problem at all. Okay, so I'll close the meeting now. Just to say again, big thanks to Protect Our Winters for presenting today. We really appreciate it. Hopefully this is the first meeting of many for our membership. I think now's a great time for us to get together. It's good to bring the industry together. We don't seem to have spent so much time together as we usually would in a season. So big thanks to everybody for joining us today, and yeah, hopefully we'll see you soon. Okay, thank you guys. Take care.
Great.
Thanks for joining. Thanks SIGB for hosting.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Yeah.